So this is a Lunar Conquest 352. It's going to take you around the van and show you how it operates. Front of the van, the hitch procedure, jockey wheel and handbrake is all something we'll go through in person here on site. And you'll be demonstrated that to you before you leave site. In the front of the van, you've got a gas changeover valve. So what that means is if you had two gas bottles connected, two bits of pipe work, etc., then you could actually change over the gas supply if one bottle ran out by turning the valve over. So as you can see, it's got an arrow here with the green side and it's got a red side. So the red side is where the gas would be off. The green side is where the gas would be coming through. But like I said, you just change over the valve, as you can see, to allow the gas to swap over between the two different bottles. In the front of the van, you've got your dog shower for the side of the van, and you've also got a leg winder in there as well. So you've got your trimmer heating vent on the side of the van, which is essentially the gas flue for the heating and hot water systems. You've got your wind down leg on this side also. You'll notice you've only got one down for the purpose of handover. Then you've got your water pump connection with the water filter in the top here, your shower connection for the dog shower that's in the front, and then the water pickup pipe that drops down in the ack roll itself. Then got your battery locker where your battery would normally go. Recommend, as this van's got a motor mover on it, that you'd put in a 110 amp leisure battery, and then your mains power lead coming into the side of the van. Obviously you wouldn't need the mains power lead connected when you're using the motor mover itself. The wheel nuts we torque to 110 newton meters before the caravan leaves site, so you can see they've been tightened correctly. And we'd always do this in front of you while you're here. You've then got your fridge vents for the back of the fridge unit. So essentially these fridge vents will allow hot air out the back of the fridge, and it's also a gas flue just here as well for when you're operating the fridge on gas. You've then got your grey waste pipes, so the water that goes in at the front of the van. You've got your grey waste pipes coming out the side, and essentially all the water that goes through the sink and the shower, for instance, all the sinks in the shower and van, that essentially come out the side here. When it's gone in fresh from the front, through the taps, that is the location they'll come from. And you'll have two bits of grey pipe that you'll push into place on these, and they'll drop down into the waste master itself. On the back of the van just here, you've also got the toilet flush tank, which takes 3.5 litres of water and a cap full of the pink fluid. And we do advise you drain that down whilst travelling, just so the water doesn't splash and spill anywhere inside the van. In the bottom here, you've got your toilet waste cassette, which you release by pulling up the orange handle here to pull the cassette out. The neck here turns out so you can tip the waste away. And on the back of the toilet cassette, you've got an orange pressure relief button to allow the pressure out of the cassette when you're tipping the waste away. Before you use the cassette, you need to put 1 litre of water in and a capful, and when I say capful I mean this cap here, of the blue fluid. To drain down the flush tank on top, there's a little pipe at the top here you'll bring down. Take the bung out the end, and that will allow you to drain down the flush tank for storage or for travelling. On the back of the caravan, you'll see we've got the wind down legs again. Like I said, we've only got one down for the purpose of handover. But when you're on site, you'd have all 4 legs down, and you would never lift the caravan with the wind down legs. The reason for that being it could potentially damage the floor of the caravan. The front of the van just here, you've got your barbecue gas connection, so you can push the connection into place and connect it up on the gas system straight from the front of the van, so that you can have your barbecue outside. Going inside the van now, I'll take you through the operation of the inside of the van. First thing you're going to come to is the control panel above the door. You've got your main power on, you've got your internal lights and your awning light, your battery voltage for the caravan on board the van. It's bringing up a voltage at the moment just due to the fact that we've got power coming into the caravan from the site, so it's making the charger work. Then down the bottom here, you've got your water pump run, which I'm going to come back to in a second. Once we have the power on above the door, we're going to fill the water system for the caravan. And the first thing we're going to do is come over to each tap, open them all up on the hot side. As you can see, I've already got the water heater water system full, but you'd open all the taps up on the hot side with the water pump turned off and they're connected on the outside. Same on the sink and shower, but just so you can see they're all operating as they should. And then same with the sink. So you'd open all them taps up on the hot side, and then on the right hand side of the van at the front, you'd come underneath the seat and you would find a yellow drain down valve underneath the seat. That yellow drain down valve to fill the water system needs to be parallel with the floor. And if you was to drain the water system off, the valve would be pointing towards the bottom of the seat rather than parallel with the floor. So like I said, but all the taps open, valve parallel with the floor, the yellow valve that you see in the screen, or on the screen at the moment, parallel with the floor, and then you'd be able to go over to the control panel above the door and turn on the water pump, which is already turned on at the moment. Let me turn it off, but you turn the pump on, and at that point the water system would start filling. Once the water system's full, and you've got water running out every tap as we have at the moment, you can shut each tap down, and then you can go over to the control panel for the heating and hot water, so you can start warming the water on board the van. So you press the central button to get the control panel to operate. The first icon you see flashing here is the room temperature. So you let me go back. So you select by pressing the middle button here, and then you control the temperature by spinning the dial clockwise to turn the heat on, or anti-clockwise to turn the heat down. To set the temperature, you put it to the temperature you want, press the central button, and that will set the temperature for the heating on board the caravan. Next up here to the right, we'll spin, when these icons are flashing, you can spin the dial to the right. As you can see, we've now selected the water temperature. So the water temperature is off. You can go eco, hot, or boost for the water system. And again, to set that, you'll press the central button, and that will allow the water on board the caravan to start warming. If you've got the heating on at the same time, you'll actually need to turn the heating off and then turn the water back on. The reason being for that is that when the heating system is running, it will actually warm the water up itself, due to the fact it's got a jacket inside the water heater where the water goes round while the heating's on, so it warms up the water that way. If you've got the hot water on, you'd need to turn the heating off, or vice versa, because then the water would warm up, prioritise the water warming up rather than the heating, but the heating would still operate on hot, due to the fact again that the water would heat the air that's going through the tank. If you haven't taken that in, don't worry too much. It's not something you need to worry about. Just essentially you need to remember, if you've got the heating on, you need to turn the water off, and if you've got the water on, you need to turn the heating off. So next up, just here, we've got the power supply we're going to use to power the heating and hot water system. So you've got gas on its own, mix 1, which is 1000 watts of gas, and gas and 1000 watts of electric at the same time. Mix 2, 2000 watts of electric and gas at the same time. Electric 1, 1000 watts of electric on its own, and electric 2, 2000 watts of electric on its own. Here on site we're going to run it on electric 1, but depending on the caravan site you're on, it would also depend on how much power you run through the caravan. So as you can see there, we've got it set on electric 1 because we haven't got gas connected, but if you're on a site where you're using electric 1, or you're using 1000 watts of power into the caravan, and you'd only know by asking the site office of the site you are on to how much power you can run through the heating and hot water system, then you'd need to select the 1000 watts of power on its own if you had that available. However, if you wanted to boost the system at that point for obviously showering, or boosting the heating system for example, then you would need to turn on the gas and operate on mix 1, which will operate on gas and electric at the same time. The last icon we've got on this screen here is the blown air heating. So you've got blown air heating off, vent, which you'd select, and then you control the fan speed right round to 10 on the dial. For instance, if you want it on 10, you press the central button, and at that point, because there's no heating turned on at the moment, the fans would actually kick in as cold air fans. So just blow cool air around the van. It won't be completely cold, it's not like aircon for instance, but it's a bit like in your car when you've just got the fans turned on and no air conditioning turned on. So on this control panel as well, you'll also notice that you have some options down the bottom here. You've got a timer for your heating and hot water, and we advise you read the manual to set this. You've got the time for the control panel itself, and you've got some advanced options for engineers in here. However, if you ever need to adjust anything inside of there, please give us a call first and we'll be able to walk you through this. Cooker works very much the same as your household cooker. Electric igniter on the front, electric ring at the back, and 3 gas rings on top. We always advise to not shut the lid down on the hob until the hob has completely cooled. The reason for this being is that it could potentially smash the glass lid if you shut it down while it is still warm. Below that, you've got your grill and your oven, as you'd expect to see, and below the grill, below the oven, sorry, you'll actually notice in the right hand side you've actually got some gas taps there for your fridge, heating and hot water systems, and they are just there to isolate the gas systems should you ever need to. Go over to the fridge next. Very simple to operate. You've got power off at the top here. You've got 240 mains operation, so you operate it like a normal fridge at home, and then your temperature control on the right hand side. 12 volt battery, which is the 12 volt system from the car, not the battery on board the caravan. So the fridge at that point would work as a cool box rather than a fridge, and like I said, it will just cool the fridge rather than chill it completely. You can also operate the fridge on gas, and to do that you spin the control to the gas symbol at the bottom, press in the temperature control and hit the igniter at the same time, and when it does ignite on gas, the red line here will actually come around into the green, which is then your pilot light for the for the fridge system, and that red light, if it ever drops down again into the white, could mean the gas bottle has run out or the gas isn't turned on, or in very extreme circumstances there's a problem with the fridge. However, we wouldn't expect to see that normally with a gas operated fridge. But if you ever ignite it and it drops straight off again, pressure white, or the fridge turns itself straight back off, we'd advise you go to the hob, ignite the hob, and let the hob run for a few seconds, because that is the last point on the gas system. The last thing inside of the caravan is the toilet system. So on top of the toilet, you've got an electric flush to allow the toilet system to flush. That blue button you see in the centre of that control panel will allow the toilet to flush. And then you've got to the left hand side, sorry, a little indicator that you can just see there. That actually has a red light that appears on there if the toilet waste cassette is ever full. Down below the toilet, you've got the toilet waste flap, and you'd need to push the flap towards the wall at the back of the caravan to allow that to open. And that is simply to allow the toilet waste to go down in the cassette underneath the van. We do advise that if you're going to remove the toilet cassette from underneath the van or from the side of the van, then the toilet seat, essentially, or the toilet bowl, is essentially pointing straight across towards the side of the cooker. The reason for this being, it has two lockouts on the toilet cassette itself, and if that toilet is turned, it will not allow you to pull that cassette out from underneath the van in case the toilet is being used. So that's the inside of the caravan operation wise. The next part of the demonstration is going to be a motor mover demonstration, and that will all be done from the outside of the caravan. Once I've done the motor mover demonstration, you won't hear any more from me. However, if you have any further questions on the caravan or need any further help or advice, please don't hesitate to give us a call here at the Caravan Company, and we'd be more than happy to help. Thank you very much for watching, and like I said, continue watching for the motor mover demonstration. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. So, to operate the motor mover, very simply, you'd need the motor mover engagement bar, which is this bar here. You'd put it onto the nut on the side of the van, pull the bar over, which can be quite tight, and you'd lock the mover into place. You should only need to do this on one side of the van, however you can activate and disengage from either side of the caravan depending on which one you decide to use. Once you've got the motor mover engaged, you'll get the red power key for the van, which you see just down here. You'll take the controller and the power key with you. You'll turn the power on in the side locker. So where you see that, where the red key is now, you turn that key 90 degrees, and then you can turn on the controller for the motor mover itself by pressing the two green buttons just here. You can release the handbrake, and at that point, in theory, you should have forwards, backwards, turn, turn, then your rear turns, If you want to spin the camera on the spot, you can press the 2 buttons opposite each other, so the 2 arrows opposite. And as you can see, the van will turn completely on the spot through 360 degrees. Once you're done with the mover, you very simply turn the control off, turn the power off in the side locker, and most people leave the key in there so they know where it is. Motor mover controller back in the doorway of the van. Then pull the handbrake on. And disengage the motor mover itself from the wheels, which, as you can see, takes a little bit of effort sometimes. And the motor mover bar back inside the van.